But I think ultimately all religions are just different interpretations of the divine.
I was always just told to don't question it, which really like pushed me away. Some people, we're getting into that realm where people are going to say we're anti-Semitic. We're not, we're just anti-Zionist.
All the stories from Jesus' life before his ministry are just made up.
Don't bring no bad juju here. I'm fucking superstitious. Whatever demons you talk about or whatever.
The Jehovah's Witnesses like to say that they're the chosen ones, right? This is actually like the Jewish thing. Like they truly believe that they are the chosen ones.
What if we are part of something bigger? Like we're atoms in something bigger. It could be something important.
The biggest pyramid in the world, the Pyramid of Cheluta, was built by giants. You have slave Bibles, right? Like Bibles have been used to justify slavery, you know.
But even, you know, that the Church of Satan is technically not, I mean, there is probably some sections of it, but it's not necessarily about the devil and death and evil.
Yeah, they were performing rituals, you know, sacrificing babies, sex rituals, like, but where does this come from, you know? And ultimately it comes from religion. And so we have so much evidence for this flood. It's called Meltwater Pulse 1b. Meltwater Pulse 1b, what science thinks right now is that it was caused by an asteroid.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sisko and Mike podcast. What is faith? The definition is to like completely trust, give confidence or belief in someone, something, you know, and that's one of the pillars of what humanity technically is, I guess you can say. And one of the things that really guides us in life. Do you see so many religions, so many people, you know, that have faith in a God, multiple gods, different religions and things like that. And we're going to get into all that today. But before we do, I got to say this. We're not here to offend anybody's religion or anybody's beliefs. We're here to talk about something that really interests us and just have fun with it.
Unless it gets viral, then we'll fucking... we'll do what we got to do. No, I'm just kidding.
And at the same time, remember, we're not experts in any of this shit. So if we fuck up, let us know. Let us know in the comments. Tell us what you think. Tell us where we messed up. And tell us what you've heard. So
and fact check us. You know what I'm saying? Like, we might be wrong. I might have fucking heard it on TikTok, and TikTok has like 10 million people, you know, so.
Yeah. And speaking of TikTok, today we got a homie from TikTok that we met where we were talking about these things, you know. You could find him on TikTok, Instagram. He's really into this just like us. We got Ernie joining us.
Hey, welcome.
Nice to meet you guys. Like, really excited to be on here, talk about all this stuff. It's crazy, bro.
So is this your first podcast?
Yeah, my first podcast.
Is it different? Do you feel different like sitting down right now and then from doing the TikTok stuff, or?
It is different, but I will say, like, sometimes I have these conversations with my homies, and that's what it kind of feels like right now, like a conversation with the homies.
Can I throw something out there before we start?
Yeah.
Don't bring no bad juju here. I'm fucking superstitious. Whatever demons you talk about or whatever religions that have that shit. Hey, I'm the scariest one on the show, so.
I think he's good, fool. I got my little amulet. I see he has something that he carries as yin and yang.
I got my amulet.
Positivity here, positivity.
All right, cool. We good there. We good, because I don't want that shit following us.
You know, one of the reasons that I'm very interested in this is because obviously, you know, in a Latino household, I grew up Catholic. My mom was Catholic, super Catholic, at church, rosarios every night, you know, pray before you go to bed, bendice tus esquinas de la cama, and all that stuff. And I would go to baptism, I would go to first communion, and I was that one kid that would question everything. And unfortunately, like, I was always just told to don't question it, which really like pushed me away, you know, from things. It's like, dude, like, I'm not like questioning the belief. I'm not questioning the faith, as you know, as we say. I'm just questioning because I genuinely want to know. And one of the things that I've come across now, it's that like as gotten older, is that the more, you know, obviously education is important and knowing things and learning. I think that studying little bits and pieces of religions here and just spiritual beliefs in different areas, you learn that wisdom is the ultimate thing that you need in life. And I feel like sometimes I was restricted from that. So I shied away from my religion. So when people ask me, what am I say, I believe in God. And in my head, it looks like, obviously, like the Catholic God, and I guess you can say, but I don't follow the Catholic religion. I don't follow any religion. I believe that we are our own church. I can talk to God whenever I want, whatever God that is, you know, I don't discriminate. But I've found myself more on the spiritual end too, like now, than anything. I feel like, you know, we've had spiritual mediums on, and just some of the things that have happened, and then just diving deep, I've come to like kind of appreciate the journey of life and the things we're learning along the way. And I believe that's what the purpose of being alive is, to learn, to grow, and just, you know, just pick up things and build relationships and build off that. But anyway, that's a little bit about why I'm interested in all this stuff. And anyway, Mike, what's yours?
Well, similar to you, I think similar to a lot of us that grew up in whatever religion you're in, households where like your parents, or at least in my case, my mom was very religious. She was Catholic. And, you know, as a kid, I questioned a lot of things too. It's like why? Like, your mom would say, no hagas preguntas, es porque así. And I used to always be curious, right? And then you start meeting people that are from different religions, and they start telling you their versions, and you're like, well, which one's real? Like, my mom says it's like this, you telling me it's like this. And so you guys start getting confused. And like, example, I remember Henry, I'm not going to say his last name, but Henry lived down the street from us, or at least down the street from me. I think he was Jehovah's Witness, I think. Was he a Jehovah's Witness?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, Jehovah's Witness. And I guess he would always tell me, it was tripping because my dad or his dad would pick us up from school. So we would communicate about shit, right? And then he'd always talk about Jehovah's Witnesses. And he would always talk about like, we're the chosen people and God is going to protect us. If you don't become a Jehovah's Witness, then when the wrath or when the world goes to shit, you're going to die. And I'd always be like, but why is your people the chosen one, fool? And he'd be like, because that's the way it is. That's the way my mom told me. And I was like, okay, dog, but it makes no sense. Like, what's going to happen when, like, let's say right now, there's a war going on. And
which there is.
Which there is. And we're going to talk about that later. And we're going to talk about that later. We're going to talk about religion and how it places impact on the world, especially during wartime and all that shit. It's been going on since the beginning of time. Anyways, back to this one. He would tell me, like, God's going to protect us with a mantle. And I was like, what the fuck? What do you mean a mantle? You know, it fucks with your head, bro.
It doesn't fuck with your head. It builds curiosity.
Curiosity, but confusion. Because you're like, well, what the fuck? I want to be protected, dog. And I was like,
you want to be under the mantle?
Yeah. I don't want to die. So I'd ask him, I told him one time, I said, hey, bro, I didn't believe him. I was like, bro, stop saying shit, bro. I was like, so you telling me?
That's a dog. You're a kid, remember?
We're both kids.
Oh, okay. I thought the dad. I thought you were telling the dad.
No, another dad.
Okay.
Me and Henry, fool, we were fucking, I think, 7th graders. And I remember I asked him one time, I said, hey, bro, so you telling me right now, fool, if somebody comes up and puts a fucking gun to your head and shoots you, there's a mantle around your fucking head? Like, that's how crazy I got, like curiosity. And then, obviously, you know, you start learning about, like, witchcraft in the Mexican culture or in the Hispanic culture. There's a lot of witchcraft shit.
Which is really contradicting, right? Like, you're not supposed to believe all this shit in there.
You're not supposed to be a heretic. You know, you're supposed to be religious, but people still believe in witches. And I'm like, what the fuck? To the point where I got into, like, learning about the witches. I can't say it is in Latin, but the witch hunting book. There's a famous witch hunting book. I can't say it as like fucking, I don't know, it's in Latin.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to talk about. The mala, whatever. Yeah.
And that's that book is like the Bible for witch hunting. So you're like, what the fuck? You start reading all kinds of shit. Anyways, I became atheist for a while, basically because it was hard for me to believe in anything. But I always deep down inside believed in something. Because it's like, fuck. And we'll talk about it later if we have time of some experiences I've had, because I don't want to take away from the guest. But that's my take now. I think there is a higher being. I'm not going to disregard any of the religions because I think all religions are tied.
Well, yeah, they all come from one thing.
Exactly. So there is a higher being. And it's kind of like what you said, except not all flowery like you said it. I believe, like, I talk to whoever. I said, hey, you know, protect me. Luckily, knock on wood, I don't think this is fake wood, but
it is
fake. Oh, fuck. There hasn't been any ghosts or anything in my house because I'm a big believer in ghosts. So I always say, like, hey, this is my house. Thank you for protecting it. And thank you for allowing me to protect it with my kids. Keep that shit out. That's why at the beginning I said, hey, man, keep that shit out if you're
I understand, yeah.
It's just always do it. That's like a ritual. So I don't know if that's believing in a higher being or believe in God or whatever, but I do believe in something. So that's where I stand. I don't know where you stand.
I guess I'll say, like they said, I believe that all religions do come from one place. I think ultimately all religions are just different interpretations of the divine, everyone trying to understand God. And like you said, you were atheist for a little bit, but you still believed in something. So I think you were more like agnostic, which is feeling like there's something out there, but not really knowing how to understand it or believing that we can understand it. And I feel like a lot of people have that view. A lot of people that are atheists are really agnostic. And I think it's because, like you said, there's so many different interpretations, so many different religions, and so many different faiths. And it's hard to look at all of those and decipher all of them and be like, okay, which one is true? Especially because a lot of them say, oh, this is the way. No, this is the way. Jesus says he's the way, so it's like people get confused and it's difficult. But for me, I was Christian, I was raised Christian. So my mom was, super into it. I was baptized when I was like 10. And then I left probably like around 14, 15 because, same thing as you guys. I was told not to question anything. I had questions. And then when I would ask, it's like, why are you asking that? Or if I had a question that questioned God, it's like, oh no, you don't question God. Whatever he says goes, whatever he says is right. And that's it. That's the end. And so that, like you said, that pushed me away as well. And then I started getting into other forms of spirituality. But eventually I got to the point where I realized it's what they call omnism, which is belief that there is truth in all religions, right? There's some truth in all religions. And I think that's the case. That's why I have my yin yang here, because I think every religion has some part of the divine right. Like they tell you, oh, or I feel like some religions have this part right, some religions have this part right, and they all got a little aspect. But yeah, and then in terms of how religion has been used to like based off how our experiences, like we know how it can be used, right? And you've had instances where you have slave Bibles, right? Like Bibles have been used to justify slavery. When we brought slaves over here, they gave them a Bible and told them, hey, they took everything out that had to do with freedom, the Exodus, them being free from slaves. They took all of that out and they told them, hey, this is your Bible. And to them, it justified slavery, So there's been a lot of instances where religion has been used to control society. And even today, I mean, like the wars, we see all of that. A lot of the foundations for that is basically religious beef, them like, no, it's usually Islam and like Christianity or Judaism. And it's like, no, our religion's right, your religion's wrong. And, they clash over that stuff.
Which is something that I've never understood, because they're all three kind of confirm each other in a way. Judaism was God's promise to the Israelites, right? Then Christianity stems from that, which was Jesus is the Messiah. Judaism doesn't accept Jesus as the Messiah. And then Islam has Muhammad, which is the last prophet. And they acknowledge Jesus, but not as a Messiah, as a prophet. So all these religions technically confirming each other,
Yeah.
But they just have like little instances of things like that. And it's I've never understood that. And just to get to the point about the Bible, that's another reason why. Obviously, right now I'm in my defiant stage, where I'm like, fuck the authority and fuck the government, right? But if you think about it, like everything has always been political, even religion, right? We've talked about things, how at least stems, and how you look at the wars. But like, for example, a lot of books in Bibles were left out. Yeah. There's a lot of shit that's left out. They picked certain things and put them in. For the Christian Bible has, I think, like 60 something books in it, right? The Catholic Bible has like 70. The Ethiopian Christian Orthodox ones has like 80 something books. So they're tailoring to like cultures, to different things, right? So it's like, why are we picking and choosing just certain things? And then it's like, a lot of the things just don't make sense. It's just very political.
Actually, I think the Ethiopians, if I'm correct,
they have the
are
oldest.
the only ones who didn't destroy a lot of the things that were being picked out of the Bible.
So the Ethiopian, that's called the Orthodox Ethiopian Orthodox Church. So they, at least from my research, I feel like they're like the most original, closest to the original traditional Christianity, and that's what they like pride themselves on. Like, oh, we hold to all the traditions. They don't take the Pope as authority, right? Like the Catholic Church, they have the Pope above everyone. They don't do that. They just, original traditions and all of that. But yeah, I mean, like you said, like they're all under the Abrahamic religion, right? They all claim to be under the God of Abraham, which is Yahweh, right? But if we look at history, for example, Christians accept Jews, they say that, we're worshiping the same God, but they won't say that Allah is also the same God. Because they say Allah isn't the same God because Jesus isn't the son of Allah, right? But it's funny because, like you said, Jews don't take Jesus the Messiah, but Christians say, oh, we're still worshiping the same God, Yahweh. And it's like, it's just all these little discrepancies that, like, these little differences that they're fighting over, they're making them so big, and it's like, that's just not that's not the point of religion, you know what I mean? Like, it's supposed to be to bring us all together and to, kind of guide us to God.
Yeah, but I feel like, see, that you made a good point right there. I don't think it's meant to bring us together. I think at some point, maybe in the early days, if you want to, like, say, for example, if you believe Jesus was like a prophet and he was teaching, right?
Yeah.
Even then, you could argue that, like, have you guys ever heard of the book of Thomas?
Yeah.
The Gospel of Thomas? So Thomas, that one's left out of the Bible. He was one of the prophets. So his book is a little different. He didn't write like a biography or about like the things that Jesus did. He wrote about just quotes, things Jesus would say in private to them and things like that. So he talks about a lot of the things that he would say. And you could even argue that Jesus, like, for a lot of his life, it's not written. You don't know what happened before everything that happened in the stories in the Bible, right? So there's arguments that he even traveled to India and learned Hinduism and Buddhism and all that stuff. And that's that was his teaching way. Like, he was teaching about meditation and like wisdom and things like that. So
hold on. Because now you're fucking, I'm going back to 12 years old and I'm talking to Henry again and you're confusing the fuck out of me. All right. So you're saying that Jesus Christ went and...
Well, it's an argument. Some people say...
Gotcha. I'm not saying it's
theory,
fact.
yeah,
It's just a theory.
It's a theory.
But Hinduism existed and before Jesus Christ was born or alive, and he went to India and he was witness to that? Is that what you're saying?
That he learned some version. Because technically Hinduism doesn't really believe in a God. It believes in just like self-growth, right? Growth and development and meditation and things like that. So
I think that's Buddhism.
Oh, Buddhism. Sorry,
yeah. Hinduism, they believe in Brahman. He's the ultimate God. But they have a bunch of deities, but they don't see them as God. They don't actually believe that those deities that they have are like real beings that are out there somewhere. They believe that they're all just aspects of the one creator. So like one of the deities is Krishna and he represents love, right?
Gotcha.
So all these deities are just like aspects of the one creator. Buddhism, on the other hand, the Buddha didn't emphasize trying to understand God because he felt that we couldn't really understand God with our human mind. So the most important thing was just to free ourselves from suffering, learn how to attain peace here, And yeah, that theory is really popular. And personally, I do believe that is part of Jesus' journey. And scholarship shows us that the story of Jesus from his birth and, from him up to 12, and then when he supposedly left, we don't know anything about his life.
For like 20 years, isn't it?
So,
but isn't that when they were killing or they were killing all the kids or supposedly all the descendants of God or some shit? Because didn't they start killing kids?
I think that's Moses, no? That's the Prince of Egypt when they were like, he was like the chosen, God was going to send the chosen king or something.
Was he?
And they started killing a bunch of babies.
See, that's what I'm saying.
That was in the Exodus when God killed all the firstborns of the Egyptians.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. What was I saying?
You were talking about Jesus.
Oh, the 12, he was 12 years old, but that guy.
Oh, yeah. So, scholarship thinks that, and by the way, I told you guys this, I really do adhere to history. So like anything that you hear me say, or especially when it has to do with history, I'm going to say scholarship says, because I am getting my information. And I can name all the scholars too, if you guys want to know. But scholarship.
They gotta fact check you, bro.
Yeah,
so make sure.
That's why, bro.
Drop the fucking video.
Trust me. I'll be in the comments.
On social media, brother.
I'll be in the comments, bro. Fucking, hey, I got this. Yeah, bro. I got this sources. I'm like, bro, I don't play about that.
Yeah. I got a feeling the tias and the fucking moms are gonna.
Oh yeah. Of course, yeah.
Ese güey tiene el diablo.
uh, but yeah, I feel. Well, scholarship tells us that we don't know anything about Jesus's life before his ministry. You know, there wouldn't have been anyone following him around
Because they didn't know.
Yeah, they didn't know, right? They didn't know.
Oh my
So
God, this guy's gonna.
yeah, exactly. So there wouldn't have been anyone. All the stories from Jesus' life before his ministry are just made up. You know, and so it's like, back to your point, like that's a lot of the Bible. It's just rhetorical stories, authors trying to make things up to because they're speaking to an audience, right? They know, okay, I'm writing for an audience that's going to listen to this, right? And so the Bible definitely does have a lot of things changed, a lot of, you know, translations and all this, because people can't come together on one single thing, you know, like there's 30,000.
I got so many things right now.
But I just want to add something real quick, and I think it's important for people to know that even all these, you know, the book of, you know, of whoever it may be, right? One of the prophets. These books, even then, were still written hundreds of years after the prophets were gone. So they just took like account.
So it's somebody saying something.
Exactly, somebody's retelling something that you wrote. Yeah.
All the synoptics, which is Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and Acts. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. All the books that talk about Jesus. The earliest one, being Mark, was probably at least like 30 to 40 years after Jesus' death. And then the latest one, John, was probably like almost a century, so 100 years after Jesus' death. So, and they're anonymous. We don't actually know if John is John and Mark is Mark. There's
no verification.
Yeah, it could just be someone, you know, putting, oh yeah, my name is Mark, and this is, you know, writing down.
Which is crazy to think that like some religions say this is like the book, this is like the tell-all book, this is the truth, the one, you know, like.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had a point. Yeah, you were going down the rabbit hole already.
Fucking mind is blowing up right now with the shit like it's like I feel like an antenna. All right, so I'm gonna say two things, okay, and I want you to remind me of this. Mm-hmm. So Virgin Mary, La Virgen de Guadalupe, I want to talk about that, and then aliens. Okay, so I know it's like it has nothing to do with religion, right?
No, it does.
But
I would say,
but
Anunnaki.
Okay, so you brought up Hinduism. Okay, so Hinduism is based on deities, kind of like Mexico, the Aztecs. A lot of the cultures had deities, right? And a lot of their like either hieroglyphics or writings or pictures, whatever they drew, right? I watched the show Aliens, so I'm gonna be quoting the aliens. I don't know how freaking true they are, but I like Aliens, the show. A lot of them reflect and talk about these deities and how they represent people from the sky, like
sky people.
Sky people, yeah.
Yeah. What's your take on that? Like,
oh man, I mean, I talk about this all the time. We've definitely been worshiping aliens unknowingly, like pretty much. Okay, so you brought up the Anunnaki, right? So the story of the Anunnaki comes from a man named Sitchin, and he was a translator of the Enuma Elish, which was all the tablets from the ancient Sumer. And he translated it, and his version was the Anunnaki version, right? Basically saying that there was these aliens from planet Nibiru. They came here, engineered humans when we were like still super early because they wanted us to mine gold for them, right? Because their atmosphere was getting like messed up or something. And so I do believe that this is a real story, but I think that it's a later created myth by the Sumerians of a prior event, right? Something that actually happened, not exactly the way that they describe it, but it later became a myth, right? And so there's this book that I really love. It's called The Law of One. And it's basically like a channeled text from the 1980s by a group called LO Research, where they channeled aliens. And they talked about all this stuff, right? And they basically said that there was aliens that did come here around probably like maybe 200,000 years ago, where we were like super early into our human evolution. And they engineered us for the purpose of helping them out, right? And that this wasn't really a huge, how do you say, like a huge transition in our human lineage. But after them, there was another group who came, some aliens, but they were originally trying to bring the souls of Mars here to Earth, because I don't know if you guys know, but there's theories that Mars did have nuclear. There's scientists that are trying to come out with there's thermonuclear evidence on Mars, right? So you have theories of people saying there could have been a civilization on Mars that did get blown up.
Well, they say that we're from Mars actually because a lot of our the way our evolutionaries or the way our bodies are composed doesn't make sense for a lot of the physics that goes on here on Earth. If that makes sense. I can't go into detail because off the top of my head I don't remember. But there's a lot of things that just don't make sense with our bodies that don't relate to it. So
what this book tells us is that these people that they call the Guardians, they're basically, the Guardians of the Galaxy, but they're basically just a group of beings that kind of manage our galaxy, right? And so after the people of Mars destroyed their planet, they decided that the best thing to do for them was to transfer the souls here so that they continue their journey of life. You know what I mean? So they did that, and what they did is they ended up implementing some of their own genetics into those souls because they wanted them to have the ability to actually be able to like comprehend and understand what they call the law of one, which is basically the idea that we're all one, right? That we all come from the same place, that we're all unified, and we should be at peace with each other, serve each other, help each other. That's the law of one, essentially. So they genetically engineered them, hoping that they gave them larger minds and larger bodies. So this is where the giants come in, right? I'm sure you guys have heard of
the Book of Enoch.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have heard of all the giants. So that's where they come from. They were genetically engineered souls from Mars that were brought here, and they were genetically engineered for the hopes of them being basically smarter, being able to understand these things. But what ended up happening is because they were larger, because they were giants, they felt better than the normal people here. They felt elite. So what ended up happening is you have negative entities, right? Like demons, people call them demons, people call them, whatever. But these negative beings see that these people are having these elite thoughts. These giants are having these elite thoughts. And what do? They amplify them. They make them louder in their minds. They start feeding into those, right? And so eventually the giants become elites, right? And so what happens is these were the giants of, I'm sure you guys have heard of Atlantis and all that. So, which by the way, there's a lot of evidence.
Yeah, we're gonna be here forever.
We're gonna do multiple episodes of all this shit.
Dude, yeah, we're gonna have to bring you back, bro.
There's so much evidence that
we can't go too deep into things because there's so many.
I know. But I mean, it's all tying in because
I'm gonna try to keep it. I'm gonna show you it.
No, because we could even tie everything that he said, because you could tie it back to religion. The Book of Enoch talks about same thing, giants, and you talk about. So right now we're mixing science, right? Like aliens. But that's the thing, bro. Yeah. That there's always been a line where it's either science or religion. But there shouldn't because it's both.
It's mixed.
Both.
Yeah. Yep.
Because technically everything in life, you want to believe in religion, God, faith, spirituality. There's a science to it, regardless.
Yeah.
Right.
There's always a science, but there's also something that you can't explain, and that's like the I'm gonna say the magical part, because I've always believed in magic. So if you believe in magic, well, I believe in magic, like magic trick. There's a science to it, right? You gotta fucking follow the rules to be able to complete the trick. But there's also mysticism and the unknown side of it, which is supposed to be like that. Anyways, we didn't mean to interrupt you, bro. It's just
no, trust me, bro. I get it. It's just so many things, like, yeah, bro.
And that's the point of this podcast, bro. Like, we've always sat down, and just like you said, you've had this conversation with your homies, right? This is like we're having a conversation, just, we're having a couple of chelas.
For real.
And we're talking about shit that it's on our minds. I mean, I've had this conversation with Raul. And I'm bringing, it's an old homie. I haven't talked to him in years. We lost contact and we fell apart. But in high school, I had a homie.
We fell apart?
We fell apart. Like,
we drifted apart.
We fell apart. We had a bad misunderstanding, and, he went his way and I went my way. But I always used to listen to this dude because at that time, I was going through a rough patch. He was going through a rough patch. And again, it comes down to you gravitate to people that understand you and are on the same path mentally or physically, where spiritually, we both didn't believe in God. Shit was happening in his house. Shit was happening in my house. We questioned God. We questioned everything. But he did have a theory once, and it fucking tripped me out. And trust me, we're not. I'm going to ask you in a bit. I think I asked you pre-podcast. We were not on drugs. At least not me. I didn't smoke. I didn't do any drugs in high school. It's hard to believe because I grew up a little desmadroso. But he wasn't on drugs that time either. He used to do weed, and he did a little bit of cocaine every now and then. But we'd have conversations, bro, about the theory of life and all that shit. And one time he threw this, like, it fucking tripped me out. he said, hey, we're all made out of atoms, right? I was like, yeah. We were studying, I think, in class, atoms and shit. He was like, yeah, we're all made out of atoms, and this shit's made out of atoms. You're made out of atoms.
Literally the entire universe.
The entire universe is made out of atoms. He said, what if we are part of something bigger? Like, we're atoms in something bigger. It could be something important, or it could be something as simple as the fucking can, as somebody's, part of somebody's body. He says, we don't know that. Obviously, we're conscious here. This is our universe, but we might be fucking part of a camera. We might be part of a shoe or an animal or something. And that tripped me out, bro. I was just like, whoa.
But I mean, that makes total sense. And both are true. Both can be true at the same time. We are bigger because in our worlds, like in my life, there's nothing bigger than everything going on around me or happening to me. Right.
Of course.
But in the scheme of things, and when you think about it in the vast universe that's fucking still expanding, we're fucking nothing. To other people, we're nothing. So both things can be true, So it's just, we are some part of something bigger, but at the same time, we're nothing. And
exactly.
I'm okay with that.
Well, at the time, I'm fucking 14 years old. I don't want to fucking listen to
existential crisis. Yeah, bro.
I'm just trying to pick up hyenas, you know what I'm saying? I'm not fucking worried about that shit.
Hey, but now you have a pickup line for them. Do you know you're the biggest thing in my life? And you're
just start talking about
at
atoms,
the same time,
bro.
you can be nothing.
We could be.
If you and I can make some new atoms, I don't know, whatever.
Anyways, sorry, bro.
No, of course, I get it, bro. Of course. So Atlantis, right? I'm sure you guys have heard.
Of course.
So, basically, these giants were the inhabitants of Atlantis, right? That's why it became such a advanced civilization. And I don't mean like flying cars and all that. I mean like, I'd say like slightly more advanced than like the Aztecs, structures, irrigation, like
some
all these
more
things.
like math and
like all that stuff. Yeah.
Stuff.
So that's why they were able to reach this level of advancement. And so what ended up happening is they could not figure out how to expand their life. They had really short lives, like 70 years, which is kind of like ours. But for them, people who were so knowledgeable, they didn't want to be living for only 70 years, right? So eventually they gained this level of understanding and they made some technology and they started basically like testing on animals and things like that. And this is where I feel like we kind of get the stories of like centaurs, like the half goat, half man and all this stuff. Like I feel like it comes from the Atlantean times when they were testing on animals. But essentially you had Atlanteans who didn't like this, and you had those who didn't care. They were only trying to do things for their benefit, and so this caused war. So they ended up they had two wars, and the second one is where they said that they caused the flood. All right, and so we have so much evidence for this flood. It's called Meltwater Pulse 1b. Meltwater Pulse 1b. What science thinks right now is that it was caused by an asteroid. So still an explosion. But they think that it was an asteroid. It's called the comet impact hypothesis. An asteroid came, it went into the Earth's atmosphere and it broke up. And then right before it hit the ground, these pieces exploded like over the ground, right?
Gotcha.
So that's what science thinks right now, right? And what I'm saying is that it wasn't an asteroid, it was nuclear war. And so this war caused the flood, right? And this is where we hear Noah's Ark, the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Religion,
yeah, they all have a flood story. Even here in the Americas, we have flood stories. So these giants ended up leaving. The ones that did survive ended up leaving. And some of them went to Peru. Some of them went to Egypt. Some of them went to Turkey. Some of them went to the Americas. But the interesting part is in Turkey, we have a megalithic structure called Göbekli Tepe. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this. It's dated to around 9,500 to around 8,000 BC, which is right in that time of the flood. The flood was around 11,000 years ago, so 9,000 BC, So it's right around the time of the flood. And what ended up happening is these giants dispersed, right? They came in contact with human civilizations. And Göbekli Tepe is one of the memorabilias of that interaction. They came together. And this is one of the big problems with history right now is they can't figure out how people from, 9,000 years ago managed to build something like that, because we always think it's, it was the earliest civilization was the Sumerians, 5,000 years ago, but that pushes us back another 5,000 years, And so they're questioning how could they do this? And you have people like Graham Hancock. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him. He's been on Joe Rogan and all, so he's talked about this. He believes that the reason they were able to build this is because this civilization from Atlantis came in contact with them and gave them, you know, information and knowledge on how to do all these things. And so where religion comes in is because, you know, they were giants, they were idolized. You know, these imagine being like a normal human and these like extremely knowledgeable, wise, huge, large people come to you, you know, and they start sharing all this knowledge with you.
And you're helping you.
Yeah, so they're helping you. You're like,
oh shit,
holy
or
shit.
the stories like Prometheus stealing fire from the gods and giving it to mankind.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Quetzalcoatl.
Yep. There's so many stories of knowledge being passed on from these higher beings, right? And so just imagine that, like, you're like a normal human back in the day, and like there's all these wise beings, giants that coming, like, it makes sense why they would be idolized, right? Maybe not worshipped at that time, but over like a couple thousand years, you know, those stories, those legends start to build up. Like, imagine you tell your kids, hey, there was these giants, they came from the flood and they did all this. Imagine after like 1,000 years, you know, the legends build up, the stories build up. And if we look at the Sumerian texts, by the way, Turkey is right next to Sumer. So the place where this megalithic structure was built is right next to where the place of the Anunnaki story originated. So some of these giants migrated into Mesopotamia, and the normal people there started to worship them, right? You have the Sumerian kings list that talk about these godlike kings, you know, who lived for thousands of years. Gilgamesh, he's said to be 2/3 God, this giant. He was a king, you know, he lived for like 200 years, you know, all this crazy stuff. And it's like, where does that come from? Even here in the Americas, bro, the Aztecs, they say that the pyramid of Cholula was built by giants. Like this extremely prideful civilization, a civilization that would not just give, you know, credit to anyone. They say, hey, our greatest accomplishment, the biggest pyramid in the world, the pyramid of Cholula, was built by giants, by 7 giants who came after a flood. That's the story. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, you have all these stories all around the world. And it's like, how? You know, like science just throws that away. It's like, how? And it's like,
well, it's crazy because, like I said, I watched the show Aliens, right? So a lot of it is like, oh, hype, which it's cool. They're doing a show. But a lot of it makes sense. And the stuff you were saying right now, they've asked that question. They said, hey, even like, what's the other one in Southeast Asia? There's another... like a pyramid looking, but it's according to their culture. And they've tied the Aztec civilization, or at least the structures, to the Egyptian, to the Sumerian.
They're all tied in.
They're all tied in somehow, but they just don't know how. It's like, these shits look similar, but the way I would see it is, these giants, right? When they went their own ways and they went to these different civilizations, you assimilate to that culture. So that's why you would see a certain god, like the Egyptians, whatever roles they've had, the Aztecs, the Mayans, the fucking, the Asians, because Asians, there's pyramids in Asia, bro. So it all makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, I don't think we have the technology, or maybe we do. And that's where we're going to go jump in, because you were going to talk about how certain politicians or certain governments, they tie into...
I wanted to tie that in right now, because before we tie that in, right?
What's up?
So how does the Atlantis tie into the Book of Enoch? Because the Book of Enoch is he's mentioned in the Bible. He's mentioned that very little. He's just mentioned that he walked with God and bounced and never saw him. And Enoch is the great-grandfather or grandfather of Noah.
Noah, yeah.
So the Book of Enoch pretty much talks. He has made up of a bunch of different books, including the Book of Giants, where he says very similar. They're not guardians, they're watchers. And they're like angels, God's angels, but they start mating with the women. Mm-hmm. And they start taking power and see, because they're, like he said, they're more dominant, they're more intellectual, and they start passing on wisdom. Supposedly, there's a I don't know if it's true, there's a theory that cosmetics came from them too.
What do you mean cosmetics?
Like women's cosmetics.
Like makeup and stuff?
Yeah, that it came from them too. So that's one of the things. So I just want to know how that ties into that.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, the book, I feel like the Book of Enoch is just one of those, like I said, it's one of those later myths, those later stories that are talking about that event that was shared, right? So like you said,
because it talks about everything before the flood.
Yeah, it talks about all the events before the flood, and like you said, it mentions the Watchers, right? These people, and later on they become the Nephilim, you know, which is fallen ones. but it can also mean giants. But if you think about it, right?
And the fallen ones meaning angels, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Okay.
Like, what do you think? Like, fallen ones, they would have to come from, the sky, right? So, yeah, the Book of Enoch, I believe, is just another retelling of all of these, legends and these stories. But it's interesting that the Book of Enoch wasn't canonized, right? It wasn't added into the Bible. And to me, that's interesting because why? The Bible talks about the Nephilim, it talks about, so why would they exclude the Book of Enoch? You know what I mean? It's there's so much information that we could know about our history prior to the flood, and it's like they wouldn't include it. And personally, I think that's because they don't want us to know our true history. Yeah.
I don't say, I won't say politicized because I have a theory.
Control.
It's about control. But I've always said, I don't think politics controls religion. I think religion controls politics.
100%.
Yeah. Not in the politics.
Yeah.
That shit don't matter.
Religion was the original politics, bro.
Yeah.
Everything was structured around religion.
Bro, look at the War of the Roses. The War of the Roses was a religion.
I will say this right now, though. Right now, we're witnessing a flip where politics is controlling religion, because if you look,
I think religion has been silent.
Yeah, no. What I'm trying to say,
now they're using politics to bring religion back.
No, what I'm trying to say is, for example, you look at these Christian nationalists. They're using country or politics.
Yeah, but it's religion controlling.
They're influencing religion, not religion influencing politics now. So right now it's a vice versa. They're using politics to influence their religion, which is a first time that I've ever thought about. I don't think it's going to happen, bro. Religion is too much powerful.
Yeah, you've seen it, but I think there's a hidden agenda.
But that's why even the Catholic Pope is coming out and speaking out against these nationalists. Like, hey, this is not the faith. You see some pastors in Christianity, hey, Christian nationalism is wrong, because they're trying to, like you said, they're not trying to let it evolve because it is becoming a thing, very popular here. So, anyways, so now we can tie it into fucking politics now.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, man, it gets crazy. So, what do we see when we look at like the political, like for example, like the Epstein files right now? Right, there's files that talk about how they were performing rituals, sacrificing babies, sex rituals, like, but where does this come from? And ultimately it comes from religion, like literally. So in ancient history, I believe the earliest place where we get like real set sacrifices is in a place called Carthage. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it, but it's like super North Africa, like right under like the Red Sea. It's North Africa, and basically it's this place where, have you guys heard of Moloch? No. Moloch, the deity. So he gets tied to Baal a lot. Like they tie him in Baal a lot, and this is where a lot of those sacrifices, like in the Bible, it talks about don't sacrifice your kid to Baal, don't sacrifice your kid to Molech. A lot of these sacrifices come from there. Molech was originally a type of sacrifice that consisted of passing your child through fire, right? And so, of course, they would do this to deities, right? To please their gods. And so the reason for that, I mean, historically, like scholarship says that the reason for this would most likely be like for, like if we didn't have crops this season, like fuck, like we gotta.
That's what I was going to ask you. And I'm sorry to cut you off because I kind of wanted to, I think it's important for people to know because you talked about two different people right now, right? But originally Baal was not he wasn't tied into sacrifice. No. He was like fertility and for rain and shit like that, right?
Yeah. So that's what I was going to talk about.
I want to know why, or can you explain why they got tied together?
Yeah. So like I was saying, so Molech became deitized, but it was originally a type of sacrifice, right? And eventually this type of, because Carthage is pretty close to the land of Canaan, which is where the Israelites developed and all that. So eventually this type of sacrifice made its way to the area of Canaan, right? And this is why we see in the Bible, don't sacrifice to Molech, don't pass your child through the fire, right? So this practice became used to sacrifice to Baal. Now, I will say this, scholarship says that there actually is a little bit more evidence that there was more sacrifice to Yahweh than there was to Baal.
Which is God.
Yeah, that's God. So this type of sacrifice became associated with Baal. And when the Israelites came in, they had Yahweh at their forefront, right? They were Yahwists, which is they believed in the other gods of Canaan, but they had Yahweh at the top, right? And so when they came into Canaan, they started trying to push Yahweh up the pantheon. Once they decided they wanted to move into monotheism, they started pushing him up the pantheon, right? Trying to make him the head god. And so what do you have to do in that instance? You have to demote all the other gods, right? You have to bash them, you have to attack them, demonize them. And so that's exactly what happened with Baal. He became associated with the Molech sacrifices, with passing your child through a fire, and then he became demonized by the Israelites. And so after, Christianity and Judaism become so popular and central, Baal becomes a demon. He becomes a demon, and like you said, they're burning the statues of him and all this. But it's crazy because he originally represented fertility and storms. If they were to sacrifice to him, which was probably like super rare occasion, it was for the hopes that he would bring rain, that he would give us crops, that he would do all of these things. So it's not like he originally represented Satanism. That was something that was pushed onto him by the Israelites, by the Christians, by the Jews. And so how this all ties into politics is because, as we know, there's a certain group of people that run the world today, right? And I'm not trying to be, not trying to be a little anti-Semitic, but we know who it is, And so they used to practice child sacrifice, right? Even the Bible talks about how the Israelites, God exiled them because they kept sacrificing their children to the other gods, and one of them was Baal. So the way this ties into politics is because this tradition held, for the Israelites, which later became the Jews after the exile, right? And so when you look at all these elites, they're all Jews, they're all from the Jewish religion, and I'm not saying that every Jew is, involved, in this cabal or whatever. I'm trying to, make sure people know this. I'm only talking about the people at the top, the elites.
A question before you continue. I've always wondered, how is it that the Jews were the most persecuted throughout history? And they end up at the top. How the fuck that happened?
Yeah, here's what I'll put it. So the Jewish elites and the Jewish people are different. Yeah. That's something we have
to... But they come from the same place.
Yeah, they come from the same place, but they're different, right?
Yeah.
I know.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes and no. It's murky.
So, okay, we'll clear this up really quick. So the Jewish elites are mostly Ashkenazi Jews. So they are from Europe. They're not actual descendants of the native people from Israel, right? So after... after the exile, right, the Jews dispersed, right? A lot of them went to Europe, right? And I'm sure you guys have heard of the Rothschild. Okay, so they are Ashkenazi Jews.
JP Morgan.
Yeah, JP Morgan. They are Ashkenazi Jews who developed in Europe. And actually, the Balfour Declaration, which was from Britain, was directed towards Lord Rothschild. So the whole reason why they wanted to create the state of Israel is because of the Rothschilds. They dedicated it to the Rothschilds, not solely because of them. Obviously, there's a lot of other people. But so this is how the elites play a part in all of this stuff, right? And so, like I was saying, these traditions have been embedded into their religion. Sacrifice has been embedded into their religion, right? So these elites, they empower themselves through these rituals, not because they're sacrificing to a like literal Yahweh or a literal Baal, but because we're getting into some metaphysics here. When you sacrifice, right, what happens to a child or a being, right? They go through extreme suffering, right? They cry, fear, all of these things. So in the metaphysical realm, all of those things it's energy, right? So what happens is these negative beings feed off of all of that. And so it's kind of like an exchange where the elites sacrifice for them. They feed off of all of this energy and they give them knowledge. They tell them, hey, here, this is how you control the world, And so that's why I want to make that distinction. There's a difference between the Jews and the Jewish elites, right? The Jewish elites, they don't care about the lower Jews, all they care about is control, power, all these things. So, there is a difference, but the like I said, that, culture is embedded into their religion, right? So it goes all the way down traditionally. So it's something that has always been there, but I feel like they've got to a point where they know how to utilize it to the best extent, like sacrificing and doing all these rituals to get the most out of it, as opposed to before. I don't think that they were in contact with these entities. I think that they actually believed that they were sacrificing to Yahweh. But I think now I feel like the elites I feel like they're smart enough to know, like, hey, it's probably isn't Yahweh, but it probably is some negative entities out there that are, pretending to be Yahweh or that are empowering us because we sacrifice to them, So it's a lot of tie into their culture, you know. And then as they went to Europe, and the Rothschilds ended up building their huge banking empire. You had J.P. Morgan, and now look, bro, the Fed Reserve, it's owned by them. Like, it's all owned by them. And like now these things that we're seeing, even like in Venezuela, like all of a sudden they're giving oil to Israel that they haven't given them in like 60 years or something, you know. And like we're seeing all of these things, and it's like,
so question. So technically these elites don't give a fuck about the Jewish people, but they care about maintaining the Jewish
power.
No, well, what I'm talking about, like, you know how everybody always says Israel's like in the middle of hundreds of motherfuckers that want to kill them, right? If it was up to these motherfuckers right here, Israel would be gone, bro, like destroyed. But they survived, right? Is it because of the Jewish elites protect it, even though they really don't give a fuck about it?
Remember, the money became the power. But
Israel, do they really have a lot of money? Like the poor people?
No. Well, they have our money. But that's a completely different topic.
So they're still important, but not as important as the fucking elites.
Yes.
I think they're important in maintaining the like the Zionist and Israeli
the name, right?
Yeah,
like the lure, like these are Jewish people we're gonna protect.
Which is something that I want to say, because some people we're getting into that wrong where people are gonna say we're anti-Semitic. We're not. We're just anti-Zionist.
Yeah,
you can say that. So there's a big difference. You explained the difference already. So I think that's a big difference. Right now, people are throwing that word around, anti-Semitic, very lightly, and it's like, no, bro, we're not anti-Semitic. You know, if you really want to think about it and be exact, the people of Palestine are more, like
they have the native genetics.
Exactly, they have the genetics more than actually like the other people that are.
Yeah, so only about 50% of Ashkenazi Jews are actually descendants of native Israelites, but for the Palestinians, I think it's like probably like 70 or 80%. Like they definitely have more genetics related, and I mean it makes sense because they've always been there, right? Meanwhile, the Jews, they dispersed and they came back, and but like to your point, the reason why they've been kicked out of 109 countries, you know, but the reason why these Jewish elites are still able to be in power is because they have all the money, you know, they have all the central banking systems is all under them, you know. And not only that, but when you have, for example, people like Epstein, who were also Jewish and involved with the Mossad and all these things, when you have people like him who are extremely rich and have so much access to all of these people in power, like Clinton, you know, Stephen Hawking, Bill Gates, all of these super powerful people, he's like a pawn, right? He's like a pawn for them. They get people like him, they make them rich, they get them involved with all of these politicians, these celebrities, these cool people, and they get intel, they get all these things, and they go and they feed the Zionists, you know, and they keep that country alive, they keep the culture alive. And you talked about it earlier, how the Jehovah's Witness like to say that they're the chosen ones, right? This is actually like the Jewish thing. Like they truly believe that they are the chosen ones, and so much so that I personally think that part of the reason why they're going to war with all these countries around them is because they want the land, because they believe, hey, this was promised to us, this is our land, we're the chosen people, not you guys.
Which right now we're seeing, and I know that, you know, we're technically at war with Iran, but what people
technically we're not.
No, technically, well, I think we are now. But
the Congress declared?
No, but you know, the whole thing is going on right now.
Yeah, I know, but you know,
what people don't realize is that there's a lot going on, right? Israel said they were going to start going after Iran, and they said, U.S., you can join us or not, but we're going to do it regardless. Mm-hmm. So the U.S. and probably Trump, to protect his ass from all the information they have on him, said, cool, that's just my theory. But after we started bombing and doing all this stuff, and now we're getting ready to send soldiers, which we will, right? Yeah. Israel now stopped doing that, and now they're taking Lebanon. Why? For land. They want the Lebanese, so they started attacking Lebanon for land. So it is just a big land grab.
It's extremely embedded entitlement, bro. It's like this genuine feeling that and even just the normal Jews.
That's like the ultimate white privilege and shit,
yes,
right?
Yes, bro. Like even if you go to Israel, I don't know if you've seen, I remember there's this video of this lady who, she was like a Christian, and she went to Israel because she believed that Israel was amazing. Yeah. And so she's preaching about Jesus and like God and stuff. And like there's little Israeli kids, bro, and they come and they start spitting on her and shit talking her. and like say like little kids, bro, and they're just like talking shit to her, you know, and she gets slapped, like, bro, and all these by just normal Jewish people. And it's like, why do you think they have that? It's because of that we're the chosen.
Which sucks because it's like indoctrination. It's like that. It's like what, in a sense, is going on here right now, right, with the politics and all that. But it's just indoctrination, and it sucks because, like you said, not all people are like that. They just don't know anything else. That's what they've been brought up on, and it goes back to the same thing. If you have these people in power that are feeding you and giving, you know, the Jewish people and the people in Israel things, it's like it solidifies it. It's like the cartels in Mexico. Some people idolize them because they're helping the community in a sense, right? Building schools, and so they start worshiping them and idolizing them, and it's like.
So here I'm gonna throw a curveball. Not that I condone anything he ever did, but I do think it's for some of the shit he was a genius, but for other shit he wasn't.
Yeah, you gotta get to who it is, because it's sounding a little.
I already know, yeah.
Hitler. Okay. So are you saying that Hitler obviously wasn't Jewish? He was anti-Jewish.
Yeah, he was Christian, right?
Did he know at the time? Like would you say Hitler knew that the Jewish people and the Jewish elite, this was the role and what they were playing, and that's why he was like, "Fuck that,
100%.
We're gonna take these motherfuckers out."
Yeah, I will say that I don't think that Hitler was. I'm gonna say I don't think that Hitler was obviously in the right.
Yeah, of course.
But I do think that Hitler had knowledge that a lot of people didn't have about the Jews. And if we actually go and look at the history, the Jewish people were the ones starting all of this in Germany.
Well, technically, the World War I, like with all that started because the Rothschild told Great Britain to get involved, and that's what started it. And that's part of the reason, because of the money.
But it was also the banking system.
Exactly. I mean, because Hitler had some insight that said, "Fuck, the Jewish are gonna take over."
Yeah, bro. He didn't want them owning all the banks. He didn't want them doing all that, right? And so he started kind of resisting them, and the Jews started resisting back, and so it created this friction, right? And so then, you know, the war broke out. Hitler didn't like that, and on one end, I understand, because it's like, and even in the book I talked about earlier, the channel book, they actually talk about like his afterlife, and they say that the reason he didn't become like an extremely negative being in his afterlife is because he genuinely believed that what he was doing was right for his people, right? Yeah, so he genuinely believed what I'm doing is the correct thing for my people, right? And so again, I'm not gonna say that he was right, but I understand. Like, I get it. You know, when you have
people that
when you
really believe what they're selling, you know, they really truly believe that, even though it's wrong.
Well, I'll put it like this, bro. You know, and again, I'm learning a lot of things, and so thank you for coming on. I would do the same thing. No, I wouldn't do. Hold on, I wouldn't. Let me reiterate. I wouldn't. The genocide part.
No Holocaust.
Yeah, the Holocaust part, the genocide part. Obviously, something that should have never been there, and it's still happening in some countries. You know, it's gonna happen when people want to get rid of somebody that's a threat. Now, I do agree that in that sense, then I would do anything for my people up until that. And who knows, bro? Because when you're in power, and maybe at that time, and I'm not saying the genocide was okay, but maybe he thought that was okay. Like you said,
he definitely believed
that was okay because he was saving his people. So who are we to say that he was wrong?
Yeah.
If he was saving his people.
Yeah. I think from his perspective, of course, like he wasn't wrong, but I think we can agree that, you know,
of course,
putting children in camps and all this stuff is not okay.
He's still one of the most evil people in the world.
Right.
Of course. And like I said, bro,
I think the best way to clear this up is no Holocaust, no genocide, but Hitler was right in his idea of wanting to remove the Jews. I don't think that Holocaust was the way. I think he should have just kicked them out. You know what I mean? Like, should have just kicked them out. Same thing that all the other countries did to them. You know what I mean? Like, just even Guatemala just kicked out the Jews, bro. And I know it's because my family was telling me, bro, and like, and they were doing weird shit in Guatemala too.
And what you mean by kick out? What do you mean? Like they went around?
Like they go around and they see
Jewish?
Jews. Yeah, get the fuck out of here, bro. Like, and I saw those videos and I was like, hell yeah, bro. Get them the fuck out of here. Because, bro, they were doing weird shit. Like, and they're super sketch, bro. Like, it's so weird. Like, I don't know if you guys know who Kurt Kaz is.
No.
He's a YouTuber and he goes around to like different countries. And he went to Guatemala to like look for the Jews and stuff. And he was like interviewing them, and they were super sketch. Like they just didn't want to say anything. They didn't want to talk about anything, what they were doing there, none of that. And so recently the Guatemalans just kicked them out, bro. Like they went around exiling them, like literally telling them, get the fuck out of here, bro. And like, it's great. You really have to think, like, is this just something that they're just doing? Like, no, like it's happened for a reason, you know?
It's been since the beginning of time you're getting kicked out for you.
Even here, I don't know if you guys, I just looked it up because I forgot the guy's name, but you know who Tyler Oliveira is?
No.
He's a YouTuber and creator on TikTok and all that. So he goes around to different places in the US, just looking at, for example, he did the Somali fraud stuff. He's gone to different areas. And he recently went to a town in New Jersey where it's all Jewish people, right? And his video already got taken down and he got like kicked off a bunch of platforms for that video, but not for any other video. And pretty much where he went, he was interviewing people. He's like, they don't work. They live off the government programs. They have like a bunch of kids and they have their own private like police in that little city. They have like their own private emergency services. A lot of one of the high schools, I believe it is, or elementaries, is closing down because there's no funding, because all the money is going to like the Jewish schools, the private Jewish schools. So there's no funding. So there's a lot of things going on, you know, like he brought up. And this is not to talk smack about the people. I just want to clear that up. Yeah. It's just to show that like there's a lot of things that
it's odd, you know, like there's a reason why we question these things, you know. It's not for no reason. Like I understand, because bro, I mean, I talk about this all the time, and I get people in my comments being like, hey bro, like you're crossing that line, you're starting to get anti-Semitic. And it's like, I'm not talking about the Jewish mom who's, you know, in Israel with her little bakery and like she's living her life. I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about the person above her that's controlling her and that's controlling, you know what I mean? And that's who we're referring to. And on top of that, you have some of those lower people who do abide to the people on top, and they act like them, right? Like I said, like the lady who went to Israel and she's getting spit on by little kids, you know what I mean? And it's like they get that from the higher ups, the people that tell them, this is your land, you're entitled to this, you're the chosen one. Everyone, I mean, they call us goy, right? Like they call us goy, and supposedly it's just another word for like Gentile, but it's really like a slur. And bro, even Epstein called us that. Yeah. Like he said something about leave it to the goy and all this, and it's like a slur for everyone like everyday else people around the world.
Everybody outside.
Yeah, everybody outside their religion. Well, their belief.
And this is what we get called by just even regular Jews, you know? And it's like, again, I'm not saying that they're all bad, but you have a lot of them who feel extremely entitled. They feel like they are the chosen people. And because they are the chosen people, they can pretty much do whatever they want, you know? Like that's how they feel within themselves.
Which I want to get into. So how, obviously the Torah is like the Judaism, right? That's like their Bible. It's like the Old Testament, I believe, right? Which is the original Old Testament.
Yeah, so you have the Torah, which is the first 5 books, and then you have the Tanakh, which is the whole Old Testament.
So where does this belief that they are the chosen ones come from? Because Judaism is based on the promise from God to them, right? But what's the story behind that?
So in the Torah, right, the first 5 books, I'm assuming it's probably either Deuteronomy, those books where Moses is, you know, talking to God and stuff. God tells him, right? He tells him, I have a land for you, the land of milk and honey, right? That's over there goes from the Tigris and Euphrates to all the way down here, right? And so he's telling them, this is your land. I have this land for you. It's promised to you, right? And so, but where the whole entitlement comes from, right, is not just the promise, but when we look at the book of Joshua, right when they get into the land of Canaan, what do? They start killing everyone. They go in there and literally they kill the 2 of the tribes that were there, right? And then throughout the rest of the Old Testament, they slowly take over more of Canaan, killing everyone, you know, killing babies, killing animals, killing women. And I feel like all of this war, all of the battle, all of the things that they did creates this extreme entitlement, like this extreme feeling of like, we did all of this, you know, we came and conquered the land. So this is our land, right? Yeah. And I feel like that's where a lot of the war is stemming from, like with Palestine and stuff. It's that this is ours, you know, like this is ours. Like you guys have this little piece, but we want that too, you know. And it's like that extreme level of entitlement, and it all comes from the Bible. It all comes from the Torah, that God promising them, you know, making the covenant with them, telling them this is for you, and then having His own people go in and just kill everyone and take it for themselves, you know, and not only take, or not only kill everyone, but take all of their items and all their valuables and all these things and make that land yours, right? And so it's like after centuries, like that gets embedded into them, you know, like
You know what's crazy, brother? It sounds like any of the Western exploration or expansion, kind of like when they got here in the Americas. Manifest Destiny, talking about the Spanish conquest, the French.
I mean, bro, they brought Christianity over here.
I know, but Christianity is different than.
Oh yeah, 100%. Christianity is different.
But it sounds similar, right? It's like,
but you have the foundation.
Ours.
Yeah, you have the foundation still, right? Like, I'm not sure how much Charlie Kirk you guys watched before, but even he would, as a Christian, he would say, "Oh, we have to honor the Jews. We have to honor the Jews," right? And so, as a Christian, you're kind of forced to do that, right? Because you have to acknowledge that half of your book is the Jewish book. The man that you worship, Jesus, was a Jew. You know what I mean? So they have to honor them, or else.
So in a sense, they're kind of like, you got to bow down to these fools.
Yeah, like literally. Like I'm not saying that all Christians do, because a lot of Christians don't nowadays, which is good. But because half of your God is the God of the Jews, right? So it's like you have to honor them, or else you'd be denying a whole piece of your religion. You know?
You know what the interesting thing is? That, you know, Judaism is about the land that's promised to them, right? And then Christianity pretty much it talks about the world ending in the Holy Land, right? So it's like literally they're gonna get their land only to see it be destroyed, and that's what brings the Christianity's version of the kingdom of heaven. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. Like it's like, so in a way, they kind of are rooting and still supporting that ideology, because it's like, we want you to get your land because what's promised to us is that once you get your land, there's going to be a holy war, and then
we'll go to heaven,
and then the world is going to end, and the kingdom of heaven is going to come.
Wow, so it's kind of like a fucking massive.
It's just
that's fucking
yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Obviously, Masonry, the Illuminati, all these, you know, all these entities or groups, how do they tie into like the Jewish shit?
Well, it's actually more tied into like the we were talking about earlier, right? Yahweh, Baal, and all that, or not? Am I wrong?
Yeah. I mean, Yahweh is the God of the Jews.
Yahweh, yeah. Sorry.
Because the Illuminati believe they're descendants of Christ, right?
So I'll say Freemasonry. I will say, although Freemasonry is a lot different from the Illuminati, it's a lot different from those cabals.
Illuminati's elite.
Yeah, the Illuminati are the real elites, I would say, and some other.
So the Illuminati is the Jewish elite,
the families.
Yeah, it's all those families, and a lot of them are Jewish. Yeah.
Okay, 100%.
Cool. So, but I will say Freemasonry. I'm not gonna talk about too much because I do think that it's definitely not even on that level with them. And the reason I say this is because, dude, us three could go and become Freemasons right now. We can go and become Freemasons, learn all about Freemasonry, and move around like normal people, you know? And I get there's a lot of like symbolism, but it's not.
I have a couple of friends that are the Freemasons.
Yeah. It's not.
They don't tell me much because they're not allowed to.
But it's different than what it was, I think.
Yeah.
Or initially.
Well, but it's still ritualistic.
It is.
You
but
see, that's
at the higher levels, like
Scientology.
Yeah, like exactly.
How's Scientology?
Scientology is the craziest thing. Have you heard? Like their levels. So they believe you know what the ultimate level is. Once you read, you find out what the true religion is. It's we're part of a bigger galaxy, right? And we're just a small planet, and our leader is actually a warlord that just took over our galaxy. I forgot his name.
It's similar to Gnosticism, and they believe that the material realm is like evil, and like the god of the material realm is like, you know, some like evil dude. Similar to Gnosticism. But even Scientology, it's like it's
not even at that level.
It's baby to bro.
Gotcha.
Me.
So it won't even touch.
Yeah, no,
the elite.
No.
Like these motherfuckers are like, whatever. Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the Illuminati, you have the Illuminati Trilateral Commission, like some other. It's all these entities that are at the top. The Trilateral Commission's a lot more public, I guess you could say. Epstein talked about it, but the Illuminati is definitely more like the cabal, like the secret families, right? And some of them include the Rothschilds, J.P. Morgan, the Astors, like all these different. Some people say it's 13 families. I think it's probably more, you know. But so the Illuminati, I will say all of these cabals, I don't think that they're actually the elites, as you could say, in the sense that they're the true ones running shit. I think that they're the top here on Earth, but I think that even them are still being controlled by higher entities, right? Like entities that we can't physically see. And that's where all the sacrificing goes to, right?
Yeah.
And so the Illuminati and all these other families, they're all just kind of like they're pawns. They move the game here for them, for elites at the top.
It's crazy because I was looking at something on the Templars and how they were considered demonic because they were supposedly they
stole a lot of the early writings that they took out of the Bible because all those books were being burned by the Catholic Church.
Yeah, but they found like symbols and fucking things that were demonic or whatever.
Yeah, because they stole all that stuff.
They were persecuted a lot, and even King Philip, he was like torturing a lot of them. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Baphomet. He's he's one of like the symbols for Freemason. He's the dude that's like this, like one finger up, one finger down, and he's a huge symbol, right? And the Knights Templars were being persecuted because they were supposedly worshiping idols, right? And so they were being persecuted. And eventually it's thought that the name for Baphomet, which is this deity, came from their worship of this deity, right? But scholarship says that they most likely think that it was like a mistranslation of the name Muhammad, right? Because they were getting accused of being Islamic worshippers as well by the Christians. So eventually this name became Baphomet, right? So this guy, his name is Eliphas Levi, who was an occultist. And Baphomet it has nothing to do with, Satan or anything like that. It became the symbol for a lot of cabals, but like especially the Freemasons. And eventually it became the symbol for the Church of Satan, right? So it's like you have all of these, there's so many different paths that kind of take that downturn to Satanism into all of these things, you know what I mean? Because ultimately it's people taking symbols and making them kind of be what they want them to be, like Baal and Baphomet, yeah. And like,
excuse me, kind of like the pentagram, right?
Yeah, and the pentagram is actually on Baphomet. It's on his forehead, but what the Church of Satan did is they flipped it to make it like an evil, because it does, the original pentagram doesn't represent any evil.
But even that the Church of Satan is technically not, I mean, there is probably some sections of it, but it's not necessarily about the devil and death and evil.
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's about like wisdom and opening yourself up to like challenging the status quo.
The Church of Satan?
Yeah.
The original Church of Satan. Eventually you do have people that do, I personally feel like they do it because they want to go against Christianity. So they're like, oh, I'm worship Satan, and they actually take that kind of evil turn, I guess. But the original Church of Satan was just about, first off, they didn't actually believe that Satan was a real being. He was just like a symbol to them.
Like kind of like what you talked about earlier. They morphed, what was it?
Baphomet.
Into the devil.
Yeah. So it was a symbol to them, but it represented like questioning authority, right? It represented wildness, freedom, some of their philosophies is like, if somebody does something to you, you do it back to them. You know what I mean? Like that type of philosophy. Yeah. So it wasn't really like evil in that sense, but after, later you had kind of like denominations, just like Christianity. So, but the original Church of Satan, yeah, they didn't believe that he was real.
Which is another thing that ties into same thing, some of the missing books in the Bible. But I don't want to go too fucking all over, but it's just another way of, and I'll kind of just say this before we move on, transition. But the search for wisdom, I talked about it earlier, right? That's one of the things it's in the Gospel of Thomas too, that it's talking about wisdom, and same thing with the Quran. The Quran talks about like enlightenment and growth and things like that. And it's about wisdom. And if you look at the Bible, some people question at the same time, like the snake, right? They said that's Satan or whatever that was tempting. But it was like, you have the tree of life, you have the tree of wisdom. Don't get the apple from the tree of wisdom. Why wouldn't you want to be wise and don't have knowledge? Do you know what I mean? It's like without wisdom, without knowledge, you're controlled. So it's like,
so from the early stages of Adam and Eve, we were being controlled.
We were being told, we're trying to be told to be controlled. It's like, So what's so wrong about being wise and knowing things? You know, like that should be like the actual pursuit, which is why now I think which is another reason why I kind of strayed away from mainstream religions, right? Because I believe that wisdom and knowledge, without that, you're controlled. You're just a puppet.
Yeah.
You're literally just submissing to.
Well, it's kind of like that one religion. I don't know if it's the Jehovah's or that you got to pay 10% of your check to them. You
Christianity
know,
does that too.
That's all.
bro, like, what the
Bro, my
fuck?
mom be like fucking like writing up her what do they call it? I forgot what they call it, but like she puts a part of her check and then plus another money for the church. Like, dude,
Have you seen those pastors with the Bentleys in the fucking church and shit? Like, and then he tells the lady, "I want every $2,000." The lady shows up with like $500. That's all she's got.
bro,
What did I
that
tell
shit
you?
is crazy.
What did I tell you
dude.
to come with? She's like, "I'll get it later." No, I need to know. Like,
Drewski made that skit, bro, making fun of all those dudes because it's like it's crazy, bro. Like you're a pastor of a church, but you're so like you care about money so much.
Exactly.
and then that dude in the South, I forget his name. He's one of the biggest pastors.
Oh,
He looks like
I
that
know
fool
it.
looks like a
The
demon.
dude
though.
that bought the jet, right? Or he
Yeah,
has like
he has
3
like
or 4
4 or 5
jets, bro.
He's like, Jesus wanted me to get this jet because he wants me to go fly around and spread the word of Jesus Christ.
You know what's crazy, fool? That in the 90s,
and he
I don't know how old
flaunts,
you are,
fool.
but in the 90s, remember all the gospel, the fools that would go on there and be like, "Oh God," and then it was like big, fool. They would do like big fucking meetings and people would pay and they had all these people that were fucking, oh, you could finally walk and shit, and that's crazy. It's not around anymore, but
Yeah. You know, which really, you and I had this conversation last week when we went to your show. When we went to the car show at the convention center, right? We saw they were also having like a church event.
oh yeah, that's right.
So, and you and I started talking about how, not even just in our culture, like the Latino culture.
It was our culture.
Yeah, but it was our culture that was there. But how everything we've talked about kind of leads to the same thing, that no matter what culture you are, why is it that we like blindly sometimes just have faith in something and don't really question it? Or like, not, and I'm not saying question it negatively, because I will say this: the more I question things, sometimes I'll get answers from different sources, right? And like I told you, I've been looking into like Islam right now, more things, right? Like reading up on it because it's been interesting to me. And the more questions, sometimes these questions, when they're answered, could lead you into a religion. I'm not saying religion is bad. It's just whatever religion, whatever belief is for you, right? And asking these questions will lead you down a path that you can find something you believe in or something you can have faith in. But why is it that like sometimes we just so blindly like just believe and do all these things like...
Can we transition into the no manches? Are we doing no manches? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's transition to no manches because that's going to be my no manches actually.
Well, I want to let him answer first and before...
Okay, let's go.
Why do you think we do that?
I mean, I think part of it is the foundation of religion, right? Like the idea that you don't question God, and that's hugely embedded into our culture, bro. Like, of course, you know, we know that originally our religion was not Christianity, right? That was brought onto our ancestors, right? And so I think a lot of that, just, you know, don't question, just listen, comes from that transition from, you know, our native religions to Christianity and bringing that authority here that, this is God, you listen to him, you don't question him, you know, and there's this concept called divine command theory, which is basically the idea that whatever God says, whether it you know, is about like truth or morals or any of these things, is all good. If God says it, it's true, it's good, period, blank, point. You know what I mean? And that concept has been embedded into Christianity and Judaism. And so I feel like when that was brought here, and the idea of not questioning, and not only that, but having to conform to like new forms of authority, you know, our ancestors having to conform to the Spaniards and to their politics and to what they're bringing over here, I feel like that got embedded into our culture, and like it kind of just, you know, trickled down into our family, and, you know, eventually it just became that whole thing of like, don't question God, don't question authority, you know.
And I'm gonna add to it. You know what? Now that we've been talking about all this shit, it's kind of made me think about something. Is it embedded in our DNA too? Not just our culture, in our DNA. We talked about these giants, you know, that control the people and pass wisdom. Are we as humans just meant to fucking be controlled by either, you know, something spiritual, or now what we see, politicians or elitists or whatever it may be? Or is it just implanted in our DNA because that's who we've always been throughout this whole time? That's how we were I guess, created or evolutionized or transitioned to?
I will say that
That's fucking good question.
I just thought about that right now.
I will say that we're DNA is such a it's a crazy thing, bro. But the thing with DNA is we know like evolution, right? You adapt, right? And so one of the forms that we adapt is through this survival of our ego, right? And so your ego is your identity. It's everything that you create yourself to be, your belief systems, your identity, all of that, right? And so as we were evolving, we needed the ego, right? Because the ego is that survival mechanism. It's that I need to survive. I need to eat. I need to do all of these things. I need to procreate. I need to make kids, right? And so as we're evolving, that mechanism starts developing. And as it, as we evolve, I think our natural human nature is to not really, I would say, be controlled, but to conform to the programs, right? How we evolved, how we operate is kind of like all that we can do, right? We're humans,
and it's how we survive.
Yeah, and that's how we survive.
Survive.
And so, and as exactly what I was going to say, that physical survival later became social survival, right? So we no longer have to worry about surviving physically, right? We're here chilling. We don't have to worry about going to hunt later, So,
well, unless you're gonna go hunt for hyenas. Huh?
Hey, hunting for hyenas, guys, coming soon.
But yeah, bro. So it's like that later became social survival, and so how we survive socially is by staying within the pack, right? You don't want to be ostracized. You don't want to be pushed away. And so one of the ways that we do that is by just conforming, by just being like, all right, yeah, like let's, just listen and just do what we got to do. And that's it. Authority.
I agree with you, bro. But I also do believe, like, kind of like what you were trying to say, if it's embedded in our DNA, I think that there's anomalies. Like, let's say these giants or these higher beings created us and they gave us, for religion purposes, free will, right? Free will of the mind, right? I think they let us have a certain amount, right? We have a certain amount of free will, but
yeah, we got it through wisdom, though.
We get it through wisdom or through DNA or through whatever, right? But they always say that we've only tapped a certain percentage of our mind. I think that our minds are obviously like computers. Everything's there, but we haven't unlocked, or we don't have the password to that. But some people that are obviously in life, they are born with that shit unlocked. Kind of like Stephen Hawking. All these fools are like masterminds and shit. Even like singers, even like freaking any talents that you might have, natural talents that you might have that other people might not have. I think that's the way that your theory of DNA and freaking whatever we were planted to do or conform to, it's broken. And I think those are anomalies. And sometimes people get taken out.
I think we're all capable of that, and I'll go back.
We're not unlocked. That's what I'm saying.
I'll go back to some. Yeah, I'll go back to some of the things that are like just related back to our topic. You go back to the Gospels of some of these. The Quran talks about some of the stuff like that. Spiritual growth, growing, Allah. Right? They still believe in Allah, which is God, and all that. But it talks about the journey. It doesn't really talk about like too much about all that stuff, and just following His teachings are the things you should do, I guess, in life. Am I right, or kind of?
Yeah, I mean, the Quran. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really like the Quran. It's just, to me, I mean, there are some aspects of the Quran that are good, but yeah, it is basically just kind of like a path to
like
God.
Like a rule book,
yeah,
I guess you can say.
Yeah.
Like a way to get there, right? But then you look at also going back to the same thing, some of the books, the Book of Thomas, same shit. He talks about Jesus talking about that everybody can have the same wisdom he has and the same powers that he has. So it goes back to the same thing. We're all capable of it. The Bible says it. My mom used to say this all the time when I was a kid. Si tienes poquitas, te puedes mover montañas. Right? You've heard that before?
I never heard that.
So a lot of people say you can move mountains with just having a little bit of faith, right? So I think we're all capable, and that's still obviously just a metaphor, but we're all capable of it. I just think we're so restricted because we're so controlled and we acclimate and conform to everything that's going on that we limit ourselves. And like you said, these are anomalies that people have, but I think we're all capable of it.
No, that's what I said. Yeah. The anomaly is the fact that they're born they're born unlocked already. Like it wasn't meant to be unlocked. Technically, you should unlock it. You can unlock it. Like you said, anybody of us can unlock it. But these these people were already born with it. You see what I'm saying? Anyways, I think we gotta move on to
let's go to manchas,
now we're gonna fucking be here all day.
Bro, no manchas is a segment we have towards the end where it's literally anything that makes you say no manchas. All right. So it's just something that happens. Mike, go ahead and start.
I'll start it off. I'm gonna piggyback on what we were talking about the show last week. So I sell collectibles. I sell sports cards and marble cards and shit like that. Right. I was showing you earlier. And I had an event in downtown LA at the convention center. And apparently there was a bigger event fucking going on, right? It's crazy. And I guess I have a question, and it's a no manches. So the no manches is like damn, they were having it looked like they were having a seminar, like a religious seminar. And the reason why I say that is because there was a priest outside throwing holy water at people and shit. Like, I'm talking about...
We almost got hit.
We almost got hit and shit. But he was showering people, you know what I'm saying? Like, fucking throwing chingazos, right?
Into the convention center, which is weird.
It's outside into the convention center and inside. And my convention was to the left of that. And their shit was like 3 times bigger. And a lot of the people that were there were Hispanics. Like, the majority were Hispanics. And it was señoras, señores, you know, viejitos ya, the older edad. There were some middle-aged women and men.
Very few,
but it was mostly señoras and señores, right? Like my mom would have been there. She would have known. And it was just tripping me out, bro. It was like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't know that this shit still happened. And it just reminded me over the years. And the reason I say that is because my mom came to visit me like 3 weeks ago. And I let her stay in my room, right? I was like, all right, take my bed, Mom. I'll sleep in the living room. Don't trip. And I walked in on her. The door was locked. And I could hear like something. I was like, what the fuck is my mom watching? And I could hear my mom praying. And I walk in, and she's sitting down on my bed, and she has the phone on a little stand. And it looks like she's on TikTok or on Instagram or some shit. And they're doing prayers, bro. And she's like, you know, I'm not trying to make fun of the religion part, but she's saying shit that I don't understand. And she's presionándose. And I could tell que está orando, whatever. And it reminded me last week, I was telling this, I was like, damn, fool, my mom and your mom would fucking be front runners for this shit. The no manches is, wow, like, it's crazy that I'm going to say, like I said, the older generation and even our mid-generation is still attracted to stuff like that. You know, like we tenemos que ir, like they're aferrados that this is what we got to do. And it comes down to like, if you don't do it, you're bad. You know, it's kind of like the commercials. I always talk shit about the commercials where the concha nácaras or the fucking uña de gato, all these fucking commercials that claim to heal you. But our community, our older community, they were like, I gotta order the fucking uña de gato, because me va a curar, you know? That's my no manches. That's my no manches.
But all that stuff is like in the Bible. They would tell you, right? Nothing outside of God. Like,
yeah, but they tie it into God. That's the thing.
Yeah. You know what's fucking crazy? The prayer during COVID, when the COVID was going on, out of nowhere.
I'm not gonna lie, I fucking prayed. I almost died.
No, but during COVID, like, no matter what the Bible said, no matter what people said before that you need to go to church to pray for God, because if not, He won't do this and then do that. But during COVID, it became everything flipped. Oh no, now it's acceptable. You can watch church through a phone. You don't have to be at church physically. You know, everything flipped, and it's like, really, for like most of my life, literally, like our parents, most of their whole lives, like 50, 60 years old, they're like, you have to be at church. You have to go to church. You have to go to church.
House.
And then now it's like, you don't have to come. Just tune in on Facebook at 8 a.m. on Sunday and you're good. Yeah. So it's just funny how that works out. Do you have no manches, bro?
I mean, what's the like? It's just
so it's kind of like
the topic based.
It could just be something that
I'll go next. Just throw it off, and I'm gonna go off topic, right?
Okay.
My no manches is I don't know why it's been happening a lot to me lately, but no manches to the people that are driving behind you, and the light literally just turns green. Fool, you're at the red light, you're waiting. The light literally just goes green, and those motherfuckers are already honking. And it's like, fool, like, no manches, way, like, come on, bro, like, I'm not like creeping up. I'm not watching the other light turn yellow and then turn red to take off, like.
Well, I'm in a hurry, dog.
Well, I know, but it's like, fool, like, literally, it's not even 2 seconds, like.
Move, bitch, get the fuck out of my way.
Move, bitch, get out. For real. So that's my no manches, bro.
I got one now. Mine is gonna be a spiritual one.
Go for it.
So my no manches is to all you spiritual folk out there, people who claim to be spiritual and have all this knowledge. Knowledge is nothing if you don't integrate it. If you have all this knowledge and you say you're spiritual and you say that you study all the time, put that knowledge to use. Don't just go around spreading it and talking about it. Integrate it in your life, because what's the point? You know what I mean? If I have all this knowledge and I'm not putting it to use and I'm just going around pretending to be someone, no manches, way. Come on now.
Hey, that applies to all the people say, I read the Bible all the time.
Hey, fool, we just did the no manches and the word of the day, fool.
I know, okay.
That shit was like, damn, dog.
Yeah, you're right. And then, yeah, right. We see that shit all the time.
But it happens not just with religion, guys. It happens with
anything. It's just spiritual.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Philosophy, anything.
If you fucking, it's like that, what is it? All bark, no bite. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck? Like you said.
But anyway, bro, we like to end our show with a final segment. It's called Words of Wisdom. Literally, it's words of wisdom.
Anything you live by, anything that you want somebody that's listening to us or to you to apply, like you said, to apply in their life that you use.
I would say my greatest words of wisdom would be do your absolute best to love yourself and serve yourself so that you can become the best version of yourself and serve others to your highest extent. Become the best version of you so that you can serve your community, serve your family, serve the people you love as the best version of you. Because ultimately, that's how not only we get the most out of life, but the people that we love get the most out of us. You know what I mean? By being the best version of ourselves. And it goes back to what I was saying, integrate that knowledge, put it to use. If, there's things out there that you got to work on, work on those things and become that better version of yourself, love yourself, and then you can bring that out into the world, and be amazing for everyone else around you.
I mean, bro, I want to thank you for coming on. I know it's short notice. We started talking pretty quickly, and then here we are. But thank you for sharing all that knowledge and all that research you've done, bro. I think we're both enthusiasts of not just history, but spirituality and just things in
history.
general.
I love history.
Just history in general.
I love history.
Everything and obviously it applies because we see it in one form or another. You can tie it into things, and I appreciate that. Thank you for coming on. We're definitely gonna have to have you come back.
Yeah, we gotta do a second segment.
And we're gonna maybe we could do like a thing where every couple of months we break down like one thing. Like we'll go Christianity, we'll go this, we'll go
aliens,
that.
bro.
Yeah, bro. So we'll go down rabbit holes.
You do ghosts too and shit.
Yeah, bro. All of spirituality, metaphysics, all of that.
We're gonna talk about ghosts.
We didn't even talk about the spiritual planes, shit like that.
Oh, bro. When it comes to consciousness and bro, trust me.
You know what? I have an idea. Maybe we can have either Jim or AJ come on, have conversations.
Do you know who those people? AJ Barrera is?
No, I don't think I do.
He's a well-known psychic medium. He's one of our friends, actually. We've had it on twice. We did a live show with him, and we did a podcast with him where it was crazy because we communicated through email with him, and literally my name is not, obviously it's not Sisko, right? But that's all I would put on the email. There was no, or email address Sisko on my podcast, right? So there's no information about me whatsoever, no number, no nothing. And that dude literally, my dad, I guess, showed up that day. And he literally brought up things that
he only knew about.
I only knew that he didn't even know. Crazy. He brought up things that he didn't even know.
I didn't know he had a half sister, dog, and I've known him for fucking 30 plus years now.
So he's very well known. He's done he did Jenny Rivera's. He's done a lot of celebrities. He's done a lot of people.
Yeah, so maybe that'll be a good conversation. Yeah. A good fucking
because he talks about a lot of the stuff too, the spiritual planes, and then just how things and even then there's some science to it. He talks about the science and then the spirituality and the things like that. So that'd be interesting. But anyways, you want to.
I'll close it out. Like I said, thank you for coming. I know Sundays, a lot of people do things on Sundays to relax and chill. So we appreciate your time. Everybody out there, we're gonna keep getting stuff like this. We're gonna talk about things like this with different guests. We're gonna bring it this year. Bear with us. We're not doing it every weekend. We're gonna try to bring you as much as possible. We're gonna make it fun. We're also gonna make it I get, how do you say it's realistic or not realistic? We're gonna keep it real. We're gonna keep it real.
Raw.
There you go. We're gonna keep it raw.
Unfiltered.
If you have anything you guys want us to talk about, or if you guys, want to come chill, we're gonna start having little guests on the side. Very minimal because we don't want a big crowd. But if you guys want to come on one of our live podcasts, or not live, but our recordings, shoot us a message. Anyways,
wait, before we leave that, where can everybody find you? So just in case they have questions, because obviously they're gonna fact check you. They're gonna hit you up for questions. So where can I find you?
So my TikTok is just ernie.lima, and then my Instagram is philosophical.bear, and then my YouTube is also ernie.lima. I'm gonna start posting on there for sure because I've been getting a lot of people telling me. So
gotcha.
Yeah, those are my socials. And by the way, thank you guys for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
Just to shed some light on your socials, I think what you do on your socials, and you can tell the people a little bit of what you do, is you're literally posting comment and giving like historical interpretations or just information, I guess you can say.
So yeah, what I do on my social media is I mainly focus on secular spirituality, ancient religions, metaphysics, and power structures, like the elites and all that stuff. So that's what I talk about. And like I said, I do my absolute best to make sure I appeal to science and history and look at what we know and facts and all of that stuff. So yeah.
Hey guys, don't come after them, please. Illuminati, stay away.
Hey, after today, we're gonna get kicked off YouTube for the anti-Semitic.
Oh, fuck that! Hey, come on,
we're not anti-Semitic, FYI. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys tune in, subscribe, all that shit. Peace out.
Peace out.